Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist, and it's Friday, so also the weekly recap. So let me start with what I worked on today. It's another one of those days when I felt like I was pretty much doing paperwork all day, catching up on creating some invoices and stuff like that. Again, kind of the boring stuff that you have to do when you're running a business, but necessary. So in between that, though, I did manage to work on the 59 Euro Beetle some, and didn't do a lot today, but I got the pedal cluster in the car. I think I mentioned before, this pedal cluster, like all of our cars pretty much, is from Scott at Pedalworks. The customer actually bought this and provided it with the car when he bought it. Sorry, the lighting's so bad here, lots of shadows. Anyway, yeah, really nice setup. He got the widened setup, so if you can see, there is, let's see if I can point to this. So Scott really offers this really nice setup for people who have either wide feet or for whatever reason find the spacing between the brake pedal and the clutch pedal too tight on a standard Volkswagen. People, again, who have really wide feet or for whatever reason they just like having their clutch foot, their left foot off to the side more. What he does is he actually puts a spacer in here. You can see it right here. It's just guesstimating maybe 3/4 of an inch or so. And what that does is that actually spaces the clutch pedal out. And so you can see normally the clutch pedal end of it is about here. So it moves it over nicely. It just gives you some more space in there. And then the customer also opted for this cruiser pedal, really nice piece. You can see here, and Scott puts a really cool wheel on here with bearings in it. I think it's actually like a rollerblade wheel, but very smooth action. The other thing he does is the throttle pedal lever itself. What he does is, for those of you that have had this kind of roller pedal before, you know that these things usually have tons and tons of play side to side. This is actually pretty tight. So what he does is he welds a washer onto here and then kind of grinds it down to make the space in here really tight. So yeah, this is like nothing. Usually the free play in these things is like, I don't know, several times this. Very sloppy feeling. But he does that so it has real nice precise action. And then of course you're actually pushing, in this case, on the cruiser pedal instead of on the wheel directly. But yeah, those little details really make the driving experience a lot nicer. Having a very precise throttle, and if you've got big wide feet, having this pedal moved over so you're not kind of accidentally hitting the brake when you go to hit the clutch. So yeah, I spent some time installing that today. There was a little tweaking I had to do to get things to fit right. With the wider pedal setup, you actually have to bend the brake line that goes to the rear of the car. You have to kind of manhandle that and get it a bit this way, because normally it would be coming about right here where my finger is. But with the pedal spaced out, you have to kind of gorilla that over a little bit. And then when you're running the cruiser pedal, then you've got to get it back in here so that it clears that. So you kind of pull it away from back here, move it to the left over here, and then you've got to kind of come back a little bit more sharply here to clear the cruiser pedal. Anyway, it's a little bit of work, but you just got to be kind of patient and make nice smooth bends and so on, and then it comes out really nice. The other thing, having to like re-tap the holes. They had undercoating, which somebody had undercoated the pan on this, and it was all in the holes. So just tapping holes, stuff like that. It doesn't really sound like it would take long, but it actually does end up adding a lot of time to a job like this. But in the end, the result is really nice. So I think that is probably about the only thing I accomplished on this car today. So yeah, other than that, I didn't really do a lot today. So let's go ahead and talk about the weekly recap of what we did here. So lots of really good progress on the EV Beetle today. Went ahead and, or not today, this week rather. So the transmission went in this week, which was a really good progress. I built the rear axles and they went on it. The pedal assembly went on this car this week. And we actually, thanks to my son who helped me out, we bled the brakes like I mentioned the other day. You can do it on these cars because the reservoir is attached to the chassis, unlike a normal Beetle where it sort of sits on the body. This allows you to bleed the brakes. So we got really nice, if I can do this without falling over, really nice pedal feel here now with these huge brakes and enormous master cylinder, 25 millimeter master cylinder. We went ahead and installed the shifter this week. Very cool. It's a 2-speed transmission for the EV, so it basically goes into just third and fourth, or I guess you would call it low gear and high gear. So let's see, it's in low gear right there. It does have neutral and then high gear there for when you're on the freeway. And no side-to-side movement. That's actually locked out inside the transmission. So really all you're doing is you're moving between third and fourth gear internally in the transmission. There's no first and second gear in this transmission. There's no reverse at all. Reverse is done by pushing a button and telling the motor to spin backwards. So yeah, transmission is pretty simplified, probably saves a little bit of weight, but you know, it's just not necessary to have all those components that aren't going to be used in there. So that was pretty much it for the EV. Yeah, it doesn't really sound like much when I go over it like that, but it's a lot of work to do those things and get them right. The other thing is installing this mid mount here. I talked about that the other day just to help kind of brace the transmission against all the torque that the EV motor is going to have. Take some of the load off of the front mount, which is a stock rubber mount. So just kind of help with that, because again, on these things with a lot of torque, it tries to actually lift the nose cone, so that brace underneath there will help out with that. There's a 64 convertible Beetle that we don't have in the shop that the customer dropped off the window frames for, so that was probably about a good half a day. It was actually like tearing those window frames apart, and then we're going to send those out and get them chrome when we collect a few more chrome parts. So, you know, another half a day right there just on that. It doesn't sound like much, but, you know, those things really take a lot of time. The other thing we did was there's a white, in fact, you can see it there in the dark. There's a white 59 low light Ghia that we just recently had our neighbor shop Octavio put a new convertible top on. So that car, we spent some time fully disassembling the bumpers and removing some broken bolts, and those bumpers are going to go off to the chrome shop. So the 59 Euro, I talked about what I did today, putting in the clutch assembly. The clutch cable tube I mentioned earlier this week was a bit of a disaster on this car. There had been at some point something living in the tunnel of this car which collected trash and was probably urinating inside the tunnel, and so the clutch cable tube itself was completely rotted out. So we brought the car over to Washburn's Metal and they put in a new clutch tube in there. They also put in a new fuel line in there as well, and they went up a little bit on the fuel line diameter. Since this car is going to be a hot rod, we went ahead and upped the fuel line a little bit in size just to support the output of the motor. So the 66 Beetle, this is the 2-liter, I call it the 2-liter sleeper because it's a pretty stock looking car. This one got completely new front suspension in it and rides really nice now. This is the one where the owner had bought some kind of low quality components for it. We went ahead and installed those a few months ago, and the car rode terrible. It felt like it had no front suspension because the suspension was binding. It was very stiff. The steering took a lot of effort, so we pretty much replaced all that. Car drives and rides like a dream now. Really, really nice. He's going to pick the car up tomorrow. I think he's going to be very happy with it, and he is going to put on some widened smoothies on it to get a little bit more aggressive look. So be cool to see it when he gets that done. Hopefully he'll bring the car by so I can check it out. The 64 one family car, Rafa made quite a bit of progress on this week. Pretty much finished up the brakes, started and finished the brakes this week, the front and back. Obviously the drums aren't on it yet. The transmission I think he put in last week, but this week he put the starter on it. He got the clutch all hooked up. The pedal assembly I believe went in this week. Another one of Scott's nice units here from Pedalworks. Shifter went on this week. Some other little odds and ends like that. So again, this car is pretty much at about the same stage as the EV chassis. Basically about ready for its body. The body on this one is going to be probably a month or so out. It needs a lot of metal work. I'll try and do a video showing some of that in the coming week or so. Yeah, that body had a lot of rust in it and needs some attention. So by the time that body is painted, it's probably going to be about a month or a little more, maybe 6 weeks from now. So this chassis will probably be done, and just kind of, I guess we'll kind of mothball it, so to speak, and it'll sit here looking pretty and collecting dust for a while the body's being finished up. The 69, I'm hoping to get the body on that one maybe next week, probably realistically not next week, but the week after that. The chassis is pretty much done with the exception of putting the seal on it, and I'll probably do that more or less at the last minute before we drop the body on it. So there you go. That was it was a pretty productive week, and I should mention that this car is the 57 Ghia is having a photo shoot on Sunday. I won't disclose the magazine right now, but you can probably use your imagination and guess which one that is. And then the new owners are going to take ownership of the car probably on about Tuesday or so. So this car's got just a few more days in the shop. You'll probably see it in another video or two, and then it's going to make its way out into the world, and we'll see what we can put in its place. Probably the Sealing Wax Red 23 window bus. Maybe it'll go in this spot. We'll have to see. But yeah, we got cars kind of waiting to come in here as they get paint and so on. So something cool will go in its place for sure. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to our channel. If you like our content, please click like. Thanks. Take care.